In a shocking turn of events, new discoveries related to Malaysian flight MH370 have left scientists reeling in fear. This ill-fated flight vanished without a trace on March 8, 2014, creating one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Tucker Carlson recently talked about how the latest findings could change everything we thought we knew about the plane's disappearance. What secrets could lie within the wreckage? Join us as we explore the terrifying truths behind MH370 and what they could reveal. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia, bound for Beijing Capital International Airport in China. The Boeing 777-200ER was carrying a total of 239 people, including 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Many of the passengers were from China, with others from various countries, including Malaysia, Australia, and the United States. As the plane ascended into the sky, everything seemed normal. The crew communicated with air traffic control, and the flight was on schedule. Shortly after takeoff, at 1:19 a.m. local time, the aircraft reached an altitude of 35,000 feet. This was when the first sign of trouble occurred. The plane's transponder, which helps ground control track the aircraft, stopped transmitting. This loss of communication was the first indication that something was wrong. Just 37 seconds later, at 1:20 a.m., the aircraft made its last radar contact as it crossed the eastern coast of Malaysia. The plane was supposed to follow a standard flight path over the South China Sea. However, shortly after the last communication, it took a sharp turn to the west, deviating from its intended route. By March 24, 2014, Malaysian authorities held a press conference to announce that the flight had ended in the southern Indian Ocean. They based this conclusion on satellite data, which indicated that the plane had continued flying for several hours after losing contact. This marked a significant turning point in the search efforts as the focus shifted to the remote waters of the southern Indian Ocean. The disappearance of MH370 has prompted discussions about aviation safety and technology. In the wake of the incident, the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, recommended improvements in tracking aircraft in real time. The aviation industry has since taken steps to enhance safety measures, including implementing more advanced tracking systems to ensure that planes can be monitored continuously. As of now, the main wreckage of MH370 has never been found. The search for the aircraft officially ended in 2018. But the mystery surrounding its disappearance continues to intrigue and haunt many. The disappearance of flight MH370 triggered a massive and complex investigation. As soon as the aircraft went missing, the Malaysian government began coordinating search and rescue efforts. Air traffic controllers tried to understand what had happened and quickly alerted relevant authorities. The initial response was focused on locating the aircraft and determining the last known position of the plane. As soon as it was confirmed that MH370 had disappeared, investigators examined the last communications received from the flight. The plane's transponder had stopped transmitting, which was a significant factor in the investigation. This device is crucial for tracking aircraft and provides information on altitude and location. After the plane vanished from radar screens, the search area was initially focused on the South China Sea, where the aircraft was last detected. The Malaysian Air Force and various international agencies coordinated efforts to locate the flight. They dispatched ships and planes to scour the waters, hoping to find debris or any signs of the aircraft. The search involved multiple countries, including Vietnam, Australia, China, and the United States. Each country contributed resources, personnel, and expertise to the search efforts. As days passed without any trace of the aircraft, investigators began to analyze data from various sources. Satellite communications were crucial for understanding the flight's last movements. The Inmarsat satellite system tracked the aircraft's hourly handshakes, which are automatic signals sent between the aircraft and the satellite. This satellite data provided a clearer picture of MH370's flight path after it lost contact with ground control. Using this satellite information, investigators determined that after losing radar contact, MH370 had continued flying for several hours. They identified two possible corridors where the plane could have traveled, a northern corridor toward Central Asia and a southern corridor toward the Indian Ocean. The southern corridor was identified as the more likely route based on the satellite data available. This conclusion marked a significant shift in the investigation, as it meant that search efforts would need to be redirected to the remote areas of the southern Indian Ocean. The search operation grew complex very quickly. It became one of the largest and most challenging search efforts in aviation history. Investigators had to deal with vast and unpredictable ocean conditions. The search area expanded over time, reaching around 120,000 square kilometers. With so many countries involved, coordination was vital. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau, ATSB, took a leading role in the search operations in the southern Indian Ocean, working closely with Malaysian and Chinese authorities. In addition to satellite data, investigators began examining the aircraft's background. They looked into the maintenance records of the Boeing 777, the airline's procedures, and the crew's qualifications and backgrounds. They investigated the flight's flight plan, cargo, and passenger manifest. No dangerous cargo was reported, and all passengers were screened before boarding. Investigators aimed to rule out any mechanical failure that could have led to the disappearance. The focus on the crew also raised questions. The flight's captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, and first officer, Fariq Abdul Hamid, were thoroughly examined. Both had extensive flying experience, and their backgrounds were scrutinized. Investigators looked into their personal lives, including any potential issues or pressures they might have faced. However, no definitive evidence was found that would indicate any wrongdoing or unusual behavior leading up to the flight. As the search continued, the absence of wreckage only fueled the urgency for answers. Investigators sought to understand how a modern aircraft could vanish without a trace. The lack of physical evidence became a central challenge in the investigation. Many aircraft accidents provide wreckage, flight data recorders, or black boxes that help determine the cause of a crash. However, in this case, the search teams were struggling to find anything at all. The investigation also began to explore the importance of real-time tracking of aircraft. The disappearance raised significant questions about aviation safety and the technology used to monitor flights. At that time, many aircraft were not equipped with real-time tracking systems, which made locating missing planes more difficult. Following the disappearance of MH370, there were calls within the aviation community to improve tracking technology and protocols to ensure that similar incidents could be addressed more efficiently in the future. Despite extensive efforts, the initial investigations did not yield conclusive answers about the cause of the disappearance. Investigators were left with many unanswered questions and a growing determination to seek the truth. The investigation into MH370 became a global effort, capturing the attention of the world and highlighting the vulnerabilities of modern aviation. The crew on board consisted of 12 dedicated professionals, including the captain and first officer. The captain of the flight was Zahari Ahmad Shah, aged 53 at the time, with over 18,000 flight hours. Captain Zahari was an experienced pilot. Having worked for Malaysia Airlines for many years, he was known for his skills and professionalism, and his colleagues respected him greatly. He was described as a passionate aviator who loved his job and had a deep commitment to safety. The first officer, Fariq Abdul Hamid, was 27 years old and had around 2,700 flight hours under his belt. Fariq was also a dedicated pilot who had joined Malaysia Airlines in 2007. He was in the process of gaining experience to advance in his career. Fariq was known for his enthusiasm for aviation and his friendly demeanor, which made him well liked by both passengers and colleagues. The flight was scheduled to depart from Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 12:40 a.m. local time and was meant to arrive at Beijing Capital International Airport at 6:30 a.m. The passengers included people of various nationalities, traveling for different reasons from business trips to family visits. Among the 227 passengers, many were Chinese nationals, with 153 on board. One notable passenger was Philip Wood, an American businessman who was traveling to China for work. He had a successful career and was well regarded in his field. His sudden disappearance left his family and colleagues in shock, as they had relied on his expertise and leadership. Ming was excited about his trip and had plans to reunite with family in Beijing. His loss was deeply felt by his loved ones, who were left searching for answers about his fate. Yvonne Lee was another Malaysian passenger on board. She was traveling with her family, including her husband and 2 children. The family had planned to visit relatives in China, and their disappearance left a gaping hole in the lives of their extended family. The flight also included Muhammad Qudin, a Malaysian businessman on a work-related trip. He was known for his successful ventures and was well-liked in his community. His sudden loss affected many people who admired his work and character. There were several students on the flight as well. One of them was Nguyen Tian, a Vietnamese student returning to Beijing after a holiday. She had dreams of furthering her education and making a positive impact in her community. Her disappearance was a tragic loss for her family and friends, who remembered her as a bright and ambitious young woman. Another passenger was Cheng Ming, a 31-year-old Chinese national traveling for business. He was building his career and was well respected in his industry. His loss resonated with colleagues and clients who had relied on his expertise. Among the passengers was also Zhang Yiming, a Chinese engineer working abroad. He was returning home to see his family and friends after a long time away. His disappearance left a profound impact on those who knew him, and many expressed their sorrow at the loss of such a talented individual. The crew members were not just professionals doing their jobs, they were individuals with families and lives outside of work. The flight attendants, including Hanafi Abdul Rahman, each had their own stories, aspirations, and relationships. They were dedicated to ensuring the safety and comfort of the passengers throughout the flight, and their commitment to their roles was evident. The disappearance of MH370 was not just a tragic event for those on board. It also affected their families and communities. The families of the passengers and crew members were left in anguish, grappling with uncertainty and loss. Many families came together, forming support groups to help one another during this difficult time. They held vigils, shared stories of their loved ones, and sought to raise awareness about the ongoing search for MH370. As the news of the disappearance spread, the international community responded with compassion. Many countries offered assistance in the search efforts, and condolences poured in from around the world. The loss of so many individuals from different backgrounds highlighted the global nature of air travel and the interconnectedness of humanity. In the aftermath of the flight's disappearance, the Malaysian government faced immense pressure to provide answers to the families. The search for MH370 became a priority, and authorities vowed to do everything possible to locate the aircraft and understand what had happened. The stories of the passengers and crew remained at the forefront of discussions about the tragedy. The emotional toll on the families was profound. Many faced uncertainty and anxiety about the fate of their loved ones. The lengthy search process only deepened their pain as they waited for news. The families of the passengers and crew members sought closure, hoping for answers that would help them understand what transpired on that ill-fated flight. In time, the families became advocates for improved aviation safety and tracking technologies. They emphasized the need for better systems to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Their voices became a driving force in discussions about aviation regulations, and they sought to honor the memories of their loved ones by pushing for change. Loved ones have been deeply impacted by the findings related to the disappearance of MH370. The pieces of debris that have been found not only helped confirm that MH370 crashed into the ocean, but also raised questions about the circumstances surrounding its disappearance. Analyzing the wreckage has allowed experts to draw conclusions about the aircraft's final moments. The condition of the debris, along with the search for potential flight data, has led to various theories about what might have happened. Some theories suggest that the flight experienced a sudden loss of cabin pressure, while others propose that the aircraft may have been deliberately diverted. The emotional impact of the debris findings on the families of those on board MH370 cannot be overstated. Each new discovery brought a mixture of hope and despair. Families yearned for closure, wanting to understand what had happened to their loved ones. The pieces of wreckage served as tangible reminders of the tragedy and the ongoing quest for answers. In recent years, there have been renewed efforts to locate MH370, with some private companies expressing interest in conducting further searches. These efforts have been met with cautious optimism from families and the public, who continue to seek closure. The hope is that new technology and methodologies may lead to the discovery of the main wreckage, which could provide definitive answers. In a breakthrough that redefines the search for Malaysian flight MH370, new research suggests the plane's final resting place might be in an area previously unexplored, far west of Perth, Australia. This startling development emerged from an unconventional source: amateur radio signals. These signals, typically used for hobbyist communication, have unexpectedly provided clues in one of the aviation industry's most perplexing mysteries. The investigation team, combining efforts from Boeing and the University of Western Australia, utilized a technique involving the analysis of weak signal propagation reporter network, (UGSPRNet) data. EPSPNet, a system used by amateur radio operators, captures signals that travel vast distances, sometimes bouncing off the ionosphere. Remarkably, these signals can be influenced by large objects disrupting their path, such as an aircraft. The team hypothesized that MH370 could have interfered with these signals during its unknown journey. The analysis of these signals, juxtaposed with Boeing's aviation expertise and the University of Western Australia's oceanographic data, led to a potential breakthrough. By meticulously tracing the disruptions in the radio signal patterns, researchers were able to chart a new possible path for MH370. This path significantly deviates from previous search areas, leading investigators to a remote part of the Indian Ocean west of Perth. The implications of this discovery are profound. Not only does it offer a new location for potential underwater search operations, but it also sheds light on the innovative use of technology in aviation investigations. The utilization of amateur radio signals in this context is unprecedented and opens new avenues for solving future aviation mysteries. If validated, this discovery could finally provide answers to the families of the 239 people aboard MH370, ending years of uncertainty and speculation. The possibility that the wreckage could lie in this new area reignites hope for solving one of the most baffling aviation mysteries of the 21st century. In the case of Malaysian flight MH370, the final hours before its disappearance are shrouded in mystery and complexity. The flight, which vanished on March 8, 2014, left a trail of unanswered questions, beginning with its last hour's aircraft communications, addressing and reporting system message. This message, received at 1:07 a.m., showed nothing unusual, giving no hint of the impending enigma. Typically, ICARS transmits data about the aircraft's health to the airline. But in MH370's case, the communication ended abruptly. The next significant event in this timeline was the last verbal communication at 1:19 a.m. The phrase "Good night, Malaysian 370" marked the final words from the cockpit, an ordinary sign-off, as the plane passed from Malaysian to Vietnamese air traffic control. Mere minutes after this routine interaction, the transponder, an electronic device that broadcasts the aircraft's identity and altitude, ceased its function, adding to the enigma surrounding the flight's disappearance.